Thanks so much for downloading the latest episode of The Ugly Truth. Today we're talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It is time to talk about how to treat our boobs. Men too. We talk a little celeb news, and we have our Ugly and Awkward Moments of the week. Thank you so much. ShopLipandClip.com. Enjoy the show.
It's another uncensored look at the world around you from sisters who will say just about anything to anyone at any time. It's the Uggs. Jamie.
Hello, nice to meet you. Want to go fuck in the storeroom?
Paula.
What are you laughing at, you old bitch?
Uncensored as always, it's time for the Ugly Truth.
Welcome to the Ugly Truth. It is episode 409.
What's happened to us?
What?
Can't say it anymore.
Well, get over yourself and get it right.
No, it's not.
Suck a lemon. I don't know.
Like something wrong with my throat. I don't know what it is. Maybe I have esophageal cancer.
Maybe you should go check that out. Guess what time it is? It is October, which means it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Although it should be Breast Cancer Awareness Month every month because all women should be checking their breasts monthly.
I was just looking at mine last night because I had a pimple on the bottom of one of them. And
did you think it was a cyst?
No, I thought it would have gone away by now. It was one of those like red ones, like not like a big pimple, but you know how they're kind of flat.
Yes,
but
it's almost like an ingrown hair or something.
And I'm just like, I tried squeezing it and it just hurt really bad and nothing happened. And so I'm just like, oh, God.
The boob skin underneath is like, it's like fish belly skin. It's like gecko skin. It's thin. It's sensitive. You can't do shit to it. And so when you get like an ingrown hair where you get that red, I've had that before. It's been a long time, but I've had those where it's this like red inflamed thing and you might see just a hint of a pore. And if you poke at it and then suddenly it's like acid. It hurts so bad.
Well, and then I thought and then it was almost kind of scabbed over. So I'm like, well, maybe if I pick the scab or whatever and there'll be something underneath, like I can pull out whatever is in there. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm just going to squeeze the shit out of it. And then I'm just like, why am I doing this? I'm leaving for Las Vegas in like a week. And I'm like, I want to have perfect tits. I don't want to have someone to be like, what is that? Of course, no guy has ever done that in their life, but.
Not to mention that now that you've messed with it, you have like a bruise.
I know.
It's huge.
At least it's on the underside.
Right. It is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I actually don't get my mammograms until like March or February. Actually, did I get my boob? I thought I got my boob smash on Valentine's Day last year.
I thought you said you did, that it was Valentine's Day.
I think I did because, what sucks about, the annual check is that you can't get the test this anytime earlier than the date that you got it the last year. And because the calendar changes, you're moving up constantly the following day, if they're even available. So it's like, I literally had my first mammogram like January 5th. And now I'm at Valentine's Day.
Wasn't this last year the one where they like led you to the other room and like you almost passed out because the doctor had to look at the X-ray or something? And then the next room is the biopsy.
But no. The year before, they said, I knew something was different because she said, okay, well, have a great day. And I went, you've been doing my mammograms for 4 years. What is that? Right. And so she's like, nothing, so I left. I'm like, oh shit. And so 2 days later, hello, this is Dr. Fong. Well, they found something on your mammogram. They just want to do, but don't worry. It's very common. And I'm like, you know what?
You know why it's so common? Because women get breast cancer all the time.
So I was just like, I hung up and I came downstairs and said, well, I'm dying. And he's like, and Daryl, of course, is like, what? And I said, there's something on my mammogram. He's like, all right, let's just all calm down. And he's like, nothing's wrong. And he goes, what did he say? He goes, he said it's very common and not to worry. And he's like, well, then don't worry. I'm like, easy for you to say. It's not, you don't have something rotting in your breast. He's like, oh my God. So I called and I'm like, how come you guys haven't called me yet? Like, why is this not an emergency? And they're like, well, it's not an emergency because of what they saw. If they had seen something really concerning, you would never have left the mammogram. Like, you would have stayed. And so I said, well, I don't give a shit if it's not an emergency to you. It's an emergency to me. Get me in. I'm done fucking. See, this is what happens. Mm-hmm. They blow you off because nobody's being an asshole. And I'm like, I'll be the asshole. So I went in literally the next day. I got in shockingly. And I, you know, me, I'm like, I'm so sorry that I was such a bitch on the phone. But, you know, what if this is cancer? And they're like, no, we get it. It's fine.
This conversation sounds so familiar. Like almost like something happened last week with one of our family members.
So I go in, they do the mammogram, then I go in and do the MRI, and I'm laying there. And the thing with the MRI is it's dark in there. Mm-hmm. So I'm laying there waiting, and she was really super nice. And of course, you know, you think your life is, I was literally laying there going, today my life changes. Like, this is it. I'll be bald in a year, and this is what I'm doing now. So she came in like 20 minutes later, and she's like, okay, the doctor says you're fine. It's a cyst. It looks like you've had it for a few years. They're just going to monitor it. It can come and go. It can get bigger. It can get smaller because it's a fluid-filled one. Mm-hmm. And I just stood there and started crying. And she said, oh my God. And she like hugged me. She's like, it's okay. Everything. I'm so sorry. You're so scared. And I'm like, this can't be the only time this has happened. She goes, no, everyone actually cries. I'm like, okay, then just give me my napkin and let me get the hell out of here. I was so relieved. But, you know, now, of course, now when I go every year, I worry. And so I asked the lady, her name's Mary, and she's been doing my mammograms for a few, you know, like I said, for like 5 or 6 years now. And I said, so is the cyst there? She goes, you know what? I actually can't see it this time. That was last year. Mm-hmm. And I said, all right, well, you know, let's just keep everything on the up and up. Let's not act like you don't have to tell me. Okay. Cause now we're at another level. She's like, no problem. So I don't have to go until Feb.
You probably see it when you're premenstrual.
Probably. And since the date of the mammogram fluctuates so frequently, and I can't be the only one where that happens, I'm sure that it's more engorged with hormones when, you know, just like when your boobs get bigger, when you're PMS.
Yeah, Mom and I have the same one. It's on our left side.
I have one. It's on mine's on the left too.
Yeah, and so it's right on the left, like left side of the breast.
Yeah.
I just had a pain, and one time I was getting, like, the doctor was examining, and he kind of felt it, and he's like, you have one of those fluid-filled cysts right there. Yep. And so I told Mom about it, and she's like, the doctor said I had the same thing. And she's like, told me that years ago, because I kept getting a pain on my side, and so I was worried. Yeah. And he's like, well, cancer, it's not pain. He says it's just, you know, you feel you just finally feel like a rock or something in your boob or a pea.
Well, that was kind of new information to me when I first started getting breast exams, and they said if it feels like grapes or it's real soft and, you know, and you feel, you know, whatever, that's normal. Mm-hmm. When you feel like a pebble or a hard piece, that's when you have to go, hey, you need to raise some questions and have it looked at, because generally speaking, I mean, it may not be cancer, but there's something unusual and you have to get it checked out.
You don't usually have rocks in your boobs.
No. And so even when he's doing, you know, and I know my body better than anyone else on the planet. Mm-hmm. I do the breast exam on myself in the shower every month. And I swear to God, I literally will even look in the mirror, because you know those pictures that people show about the dimple in their boob, if it looks funny or whatever, mm-hmm. I'll look for that. I mean, I know every inch of my body so well, so there's even a slight change, I notice it.
I only know because I'm constantly criticizing myself, so I'll stand in the mirror naked and look at and flex every part just to see how disgusting I am.
Okay, well, if you ever see any weird dimples, maybe take note. So ladies and men, everybody has to check their breasts for the hardening or anything unusual or different. Please check it. I actually have a couple of friends that I went to high school with who are dealing with breast cancer. They're in phases of recovery or getting ready to complete their treatment. Yeah. But don't fuck with it, man. And they're young. They're in their 40s, and that's really young.
Yeah, it's young to me. But, you know, being younger, I remember women going through breast cancer in their 40s, and it seemed normal for some reason. So it could just be an age thing, but
I think we just take better care of ourselves as a generation. Daryl and I were talking about that yesterday. I said, isn't it weird how our parents' 50 is not our 50? Like, when our parents were 50, they looked like senior citizens.
Seriously, Mom was old as F when she was like 40. I mean,
yeah, it's like life was so hard. It was much harder for them, so they aged more. But I mean, I don't think I look as old as our mother did when she turned 50. And I think I just think we take better care of ourselves. We know much more about diet and exercise and lifestyle, and we're educated.
Well, and not just that, but I mean, I think that, you know, we don't feel like the need to succumb to age. Like with our mother, she tried to make herself look 70 for the last 30 years. And, you know, that's not necessary.
My point in all of this is everybody check your boobs. Now, I wanted to tell you before we move on, this just came out, Beyonce's dad has breast cancer.
Oh, the gynecomastia or...
Well, it's called breast cancer. It is breast cancer. And it is obviously not as common in men. This is the part I wanted to tell you about because I want to know what you think about this. I think I kind of know because you and I probably have the same thoughts on it. But he said basically what had happened was he kept waking up and he had a teeny pinpoint of blood on his white T-shirt every day. And he's like, that's weird. That's so weird. He goes, and then when I would work out and there'd be a little, like the tiniest, perfectly round drop of blood on my shirt where my nipple was. And I thought, oh, am I chafing my nipples? Like, what is it?
How long did this go on for?
Not that long. And because he got diagnosed very quickly.
Because I was going to say, you know, knowing men, they'd be like, yeah, it's been strange for like the last 2 years. I've had this drop of blood coming out of my nip. And
no, it wasn't that long because I think he was stage 2. But he's like, that's weird. And then he goes, and then my wife said, oh, yeah, because he's like, have you noticed that? And she goes, yeah, you know, actually, there's little drops of blood on the sheets. And he's like, what? And so he squeezed his nipple and sure enough, discharge came out. So he went immediately to the doctor and they did a palpitation and then they did a mammogram. I don't know how they do mammogram for men. I'm unaware. They must do MRIs.
I mean, unless they've got fatty tissue that they can.
Yeah. Although I've seen him, he's very svelte now. He's lost a shit ton of weight. He looks really good.
But I mean, think about some women that have like no boobs. I mean, how do they do mammograms on them?
I don't know. They must do the MRI or something because you can't smash anything if there's nothing there.
Can you imagine being among a group of friends and they're just like, oh, so I wait for my mammogram. Although I didn't have to do the big squeeze. They just had me do an MRI and all the friends were like,
yes, Jan, we know.
Like no one's saying anything.
Anyway, so he's like, all right, yeah, you have breast cancer. And so he had a double mastectomy.
Okay.
And he's recovering. I don't think he did not have to do chemo because it hadn't spread. Mm-hmm. But he did do radiation after the mastectomy. And, you know, for men, it's not so bad because they don't have boobs anyway, so they don't even need to do any kind of reconstructive implants.
Well, they probably want pec implants, though.
Maybe. I don't know how concave it is when you remove breast tissue for men.
Well, we watched this show called A Million Little Things. Have you ever heard of that show?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the guys on there, he actually wound up getting breast cancer in like his right breast. And so he got it basically like dug out his whole like chest cavity basically.
Okay, so they definitely have a malformation. Like they need to like fill it in.
But they don't do anything until you're basically in remission because they want to make sure like you're totally good.
Okay, so really quick, and then we can get on with our lives. It says it says a lot of men are just embarrassed to walk into a breast center where everything is pink and it's filled with women.
Well, they should think about those things.
They feel like somehow it makes them less of a man or less masculine to walk into a center and get checked out. Mr. Knowles, who also urged men to get checked, echoed that sentiment and suggested that chest cancer might be a more apt term than breast cancer for men who are uncomfortable. Make it easy, he said. That's the barrier for men. You just can't get past that word.
Well, you know, a lot of women don't like pink. Olivia hates pink.
Okay, so you're telling me that if there was a cancer that predominantly men got and you walked into a clinic and it looked like a man cave, you would be thrown off by that and you wouldn't go?
No, I'm not saying...
Like, come on.
I'm not saying that, but I mean, if everything you walk into, it looks like a fucking pink nursery and you're in there, like, to get help and... Actually, they show that on the Million Little Things. The guy's in, like, the room with the doctor and it's just, like, everything's, like, pink ribbons and, you know... all like hearts and flowers and all this stuff. And he's just like sitting there. He's like, is my breast cancer back or what? You know, it is emasculating a little bit.
Okay, well, hold on a second. It's 245,000 women learn they have breast cancer every year, 2,200 men. I'm sorry, but I am not going to accommodate 2,200 men if the majority of women are getting breast cancer. Now, here's the other thing. I have been to several imaging centers that focus on breast cancer discovery or, oncology, they're not fucking pink. It's a medical facility. I don't know what he's talking about, unless this is something in Texas, but everywhere I've been, it is a medical center. It is not, come in, we're all wearing lace today. It's just, no. And by the way, most people who are all about breast cancer, they don't even like the fucking pink ribbon.
Yeah.
It's bullshit because people are making money off of people's cancer. It's not anything. My point is, it's like, if you're telling me that a man is such a Neanderthal that he cannot get past walking through something where it's filled with women, I assume this man doesn't go to, anything with his daughters. He hates strip clubs. I mean, like, what are we talking? Come on. What is the deal? Like, you don't go with your wife when she has a baby?
No, I guess maybe he just has a problem with the term. I mean, I get it.
I think he has a problem.
What guy doesn't want to be told he has breast cancer? I mean,
nobody wants to be told they have breast cancer.
Well, I get that. But I mean, I can appreciate him wanting to be told that he has like pectoral cancer or something like that.
But it's not pectoral cancer. It's breast cancer. The thing is I read that and I went, okay, I'm not completely oblivious to what he's trying to say. There are men who are not secure, who are, somehow threatened by the term breast cancer for themselves. But these are also the same, species who like to have their nipples sucked and played with. And yet we don't call them their chest. It's their nipples.
Yeah, I guess it's
I don't
true.
know.
But I mean,
I don't know.
I saw a meme the other day and people thought it was rude. But then I started to think about it. I'm like, but this is the world we live in now, where they said Mrs. Smith or no, Mr. Smith. And the girl's just like, excuse me, it's Mrs. Smith. And he's like, okay, Mrs. Smith, you have testicular cancer. And
I saw that one.
But that's a reality now.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and that's fine.
What are you going to do then?
But you're right. It's not rude. That's just some people's reality.
But I mean, it's just, things are like that are probably going to start happening.
Yeah, I just don't think it's as frequent as the media tries to tell us it is, to be honest with you. But I do hear what you're saying. Okay, really quick. Now, I've been watching The Voice because I like it. Some of the programs are like 2 hours long, and I can fast forward through it because, Paula, every single freaking singer has a backstory.
That's the only reason why they got it on the show. If you're just a good singer, you can't just go on there. They're like, don't you have something sad or depressing or, some sort of fatality that you can talk about? I guess I can make something up.
Well, you know what, though, is I think there are good singers that get on. They just don't get the backstory. And,
Maybe.
If you notice at the end of all the blind auditions, they say, and on top of these 8 people that you saw, here's 6 other people that they picked.
Right.
You don't get, because they have no backstory, because they're probably like, fuck you, I have no backstory. I can sing, and that is all.
Like, I was raised in a middle-class house. I was classically trained, and
yes,
we live about 10 minutes from here, and I thought I'd just come on this shit.
I just thought I'd try it. Right. So Gwen Stefani just turned 50. And maybe that's the thing.
That's the birthday. About. That's the birthday.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that because, Blake and Gwen are still together. I completely thought it was transitional, that this wouldn't last.
I think everybody thought that.
I think it's been like 4 years now.
Yeah.
But here's what I read, and maybe it had been mentioned and I just never noticed, but Miranda Lambert and Blake Shelton's marriage ended in early 2015. Gavin and Gwen ended in July of 2015. And Gwen and Blake went public in September. Mm-hmm. But they'd been working on The Voice for a while. Mm-hmm. And so now there's some underlying discussion that perhaps they were seeing each other before their marriages ended. And that's why it's so weird. That's why everybody thought, oh, wow, they really rushed into that. It'll never last, because they've actually been seeing each other for quite some time. They started seeing each other soon after she started on The Voice.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible, but I mean, there's no denying the evidence against Gavin Rossdale and the nanny.
Oh, for sure.
That was for sure.
Absolutely.
And
maybe she knew.
Blake Shelton, he, to his dying breath, says that Miranda cheated on him. And in Oklahoma, the day you file a divorce, you're divorced. So there is no cooling off period. So, I don't know. But it's weird.
But it's just interesting. And I'm like, okay, well, now I have to eat my words because they've been together and they're going strong. And now she's back on The Voice, which I absolutely hate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're all disgusting about it, too.
Oh my God. I'm just like, really? I mean, whatever. But I do love Gwen Stefani, though, as a singer and a performer. Like, I'm absolutely in love. I've loved her since the very beginning. But she's constantly looking at him. She's constantly, like, she'll turn her chair if Blake turns his chair. And I'm just like, really? That'd be like if Daryl and I were on a show together. He'd be looking at me all the time and be like, stop staring at me.
I'd be like, this is business, okay? Get it together.
Just live your own life, God.
Well, part of me kind of wonders, like, why hasn't he put a ring on it then?
Well, that is definitely a wonder.
Unless neither of them believe in marriage anymore. I don't know.
That's possible.
Because they both got burned so bad.
She's a serial monogamist, and she's admitted to it many times.
Well, that is true, because she was with that one band member for like 8 years, and then...
Completely and totally, and he wouldn't marry her. So, I don't know.
Well, and that was the big reason they broke up, is because she wanted to be married and have a family, and then
she wanted kids.
Like, was it even a year or two later that she married Gavin Rossdale? And they were together for what, like 16 years or something like that? Or?
Yeah, a long time. Because they were together a while before they got married. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Interesting. Okay, so here's the other thing. And this did not make the big to-do of, celeb gossip, but I found it interesting because it's people of my generation that I watched. So Demi Moore has a tell-all book coming out.
Oh, my God. I saw parts of that.
She said she divergenized John Cryer. John is Ducky from
I know.
Pretty in Pink. Okay. She said, John fell for me in real life too and lost his virginity to me while we were making that movie. She continued, it pains me to think of how callous I was with his feelings, that I stole what could have been such an important and beautiful moment for him, Moore said. Now 56, was around 21 at the time, while Cryer was about 19. Well, the good thing about this is she doesn't have to feel bad about it anymore, because while I'm sure she was totally justified making that assumption based on my skill level and the stunned look on my face at the time, I actually lost my virginity in high school. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that whole book thing, she's gotten really strange, and that's just my opinion. And she's going through like this whole reminiscent phase of, like, I don't know, is it reliving the glory days or like times of her life, or trying to like make impacts on people that she thinks still care, or I don't really know what it is, but it's almost like, I don't want to say embarrassing, but it's like it's like she hasn't gotten past the thing, like the whole Ashton Kutcher thing. It's just like, it's been a really long time. And
well, shall we not forget that she was married to Bruce Willis?
Yeah, and it's like that never happened.
She had talked about it, but she and Bruce are actually really good friends. Like, legit, still very close.
Right.
The Ashton thing, the tell-all book, I mean, here's the thing. I wish they didn't call it that, because she's actually lived an incredibly interesting life. And she's been very open about her drug use and her relapses and all the crap that she tried to do to maintain staying young, which she was obsessed with it. All of that is super valid. I just wish they didn't call it a tell-all, and I wish she wasn't so arrogant of like, well, I took his virginity, where he has to come out and say, actually, Molly over at Ashton Heights High School would beg to differ.
Right.
Because I did not. Maybe I was shitty in bed, but I was not a virgin.
Not a virgin.
So that kind of discredits the entire book already, Yeah,
like no fact checking or anything.
I freaking love John Cryer. He's so fun.
I know. I was just telling Ryan this morning on the way to school about Pretty in Pink, because the song "If You Leave, Don't Leave" was on the radio, and I was totally singing and rocking out. And Ryan's like, "What is this song?" And I'm like, "It's from Pretty in Pink." He's like, "I don't think I've seen that one." And I'm like, it's probably too old for you right now, but
it's my least favorite of the John Hughes films. Personally.
Oh, I don't really like it, but I think I like Ducky and the music.
Blaine, his name is Blaine. Daryl loves that movie. That's an appliance. Yeah, he freaking loves Ducky. He thought Ducky was just everything.
Well, he was the best part.
Yeah, he just really liked him.
Everyone was so fucking depressed in that movie, though. Jeez.
Everything was dark, and I don't know. It just, the whole thrift store look. I don't know.
Well, I mean, her
like
dad being the drunk that couldn't get over the mom that left, and
she's never coming back. Okay, it's like, all right. Jesus. It was a different time. It was just a different time.
I don't want you to see where I live. dramatic.
That was actually the line that we used in our personal lives for years, was because, James Spader was like the ultimate 80s villain. Everybody, he was just the best at being an asshole.
So sexy, though.
And he's like wearing those Miami Vice, those linen suits to high school. And he's walking around smoking
all the time.
Like he's just there
in his stupid gray suit with his white button-ups.
And then Andrew McCarthy goes up and he's like, that's it. He walks up, he goes, you're a lying sack of shit and everybody knows it. We said that forever.
Oh my God, we did.
Forever.
It was the X. Like, you're a lying sack of shit and everybody knows it.
I mean, it is so funny to me that we loved all the bad guys in all the films. Like, all of them. We're like, I really understand Freddy Krueger. I can see the frustration with children.
Everybody loves Judd Nelson.
Oh, my God. Paula, I would have done that in a gajillion... I would have been like, hello, nice to meet you. You want to go fuck in the storeroom?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, immediately. He's so hot.
Yeah, so
God.
Who did your mother marry? Mr. Rogers? No, Mr. Johnson.
That is a great movie. Yeah. He's like, you mess with the bull, you're going to get the horns. God. I love that film. That's a good one, too. Breakfast Club was great. Mom's like, oh, you would totally be the princess. And I'm like, yeah, I'm your daughter. What are you doing? Why are you doing that?
I know.
I'm like, I wish the school would shut down if Queenie didn't want to come to school today. That'd be awesome, but that ain't me. It was just crazy that you would think that.
It goes to show how much Mom didn't know anything about us.
The whole school was shut down. Queenie's not coming today. And I'm like, that's hilarious.
Or I wish she knew exactly who we were. She was just hoping we weren't that way.
I know. Oh, that's such a good movie. All right. So I've been really clumsy lately. Mm-hmm. Daryl, okay, let me backtrack because we're going to go into our ugly and awkward moments in a minute. Daryl was in Dallas earlier this week for like 3 days. And at some point he woke up and he couldn't sleep. And so he decided to buy tickets to a documentary that I actually wanted to see. It's about Linda Ronstadt and it's called The Sound of My Voice. Mm-hmm. And you may or may not know, but she's my number one favorite singer of all time is Linda Ronstadt. Okay. And so it was a documentary that I did want to see, but I'm not the kind of person who goes to the movies to see documentaries. I'm not that refined. I'll wait till it's on Netflix or PBS or whatever.
I watch documentaries when no one else is around.
Yeah, because no one wants to watch them with you.
Well, and the thing is the ones I like to watch are pretty sick. No one wants to watch the ones that I want to watch. So like In the Mind of a Serial Killer or something like that.
So on that note, he bought tickets for us to go see it. And I'm like, awesome. Yeah, I'll do it. Let's go. So we went and it was so good.
Oh, yeah?
It was so good. Now, here's the thing about Linda Ronstadt that you may or may not know. She suffers from Parkinson's.
Really?
And yes. And so she can't sing anymore.
Aww.
And but her trajectory from when she was from Arizona, she's half Mexican like we are. And her trajectory from that all the way through until modern day, it was just such an incredibly interesting ride, and how she really bucked tradition. She did not waver or let men run her career. She did it herself. And because she's so incredibly talented, they let her do it, which is really rare in the music industry. And so she basically dictated her whole career and what was cool is I did rock and roll, I did folk music. I just got bored. So that's why she started doing the Standards albums. That's why she did Canciones de Mi Padre. Those 2 albums. She did Broadway. I mean, she was just challenging herself.
Yeah.
And then finally she said, I noticed that my voice was not letting me do what I wanted it to do anymore. And I was concerned. I'm like, why can't I do this? And then she's like, I had Parkinson's. She knew before anybody else that something was wrong. Just like your boobs.
Yeah. And just like your body. Yeah. Something's up.
Right. And so she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Her grandmother died of Parkinson's. She retired in 2009. And that's the end of it. And so they're doing this amazing documentary about her. And you learn so much about her that you didn't even realize, because why would you, unless you do a deep dive on her life? She's super opinionated, super fiery, amazing, brilliant woman. And so the last scene is modern 2019. She's in her Arizona home with her nephew and her cousin, and they're singing Spanish songs together in the living room, and she's trying to sing, and you can see her hands shaking and stuff. Now, it was very difficult to watch without bawling.
Yeah.
Because this is a woman who is one of the most incredible voices of our country.
Right. I think it's probably frustrating, just like any person who specializes in something, you know, athletes or, you know, opera singers or, you know, stage performers, anything, being so good once upon a time and then I just think about like the UFC people who retire and then they look at these, you know, young punks that come in the ring or whatever. And they're just like, God, I could so kick his ass if I wanted to. But then they think about it. They're like, but could I really? Because
he's
like,
27.
I'm old, you know, but they know like I look at it like a GSP or something like that. Right. And like they're so massively skilled, but then they're just like, but God, could I really? Because maybe I'm too,
you can't compete with
maybe
youth.
I'm too slow, you know, or
you do eventually slow down.
It's just, it's just so hard to, I guess, succumb to your own age and realize you're just not as good as you once were.
Anyway, do you have anything to talk about?
Oh, I was just thinking this morning how I got in the car to take the kids to school and one of my indicator lights came on and it said my back right tire or my back left tire was at 24. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's low. And so I'm like, well, what's it supposed to be at?
Yeah, I don't know.
And so I'm thinking, okay, so this would mean I'd have to go to a freaking gas station and find quarters because nothing's for free anymore. You can't get free air, which sounds weird. And so
it's like 25 cents, right?
Yes, but I mean, whoever has change? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Because I never have cash. And so I'm just like, I'd have to dig up some quarters and
who has a quarter?
Pay a machine and get air. But then once I blow up that tire, okay, let's hope that the little pressure gauge thing works because most of the time those things don't pop out. And so, and even if it did, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm just like, okay, it says 36. Great. Is that enough? I don't know. And then once you do that, though, you've got to do the other tires because you can't have like 3 flat tires and 1 big blown up tire. And so you try and get the other ones as close as possible to the other one and then hope that they're not too blown up. And then I'm like, this is just too much effort. And then even if it is too blown up, I'm like, how do you get the air back out? It's not like, you know, a balloon where you squish the nozzle and like air comes like,
it's not? You can't do that?
I don't know. And so I'm like, they need to have, like after all this time, they have not improved this system to put air in your tires. Like it's the same old, like, you know, when you turn on when you put the quarter in and it's just like that rattling motor thing.
You know what this reminds me of is what you and I were talking about a little bit, Brett, last week with my car battery situation. And now this, you and I, our single parent, our single woman license has expired. Like we need to renew. We have forgotten our skills.
It's, you know what?
You know what I'm saying?
I was thinking, like, I'm like, I can't believe they have not modified the system or improved it. I'm like, you know what? They have. It's called husbands and boyfriends. That is the modification. Well, that is the improvement.
That was your improvement. Yes. Well, I just think, you know, I just remember when you're a single woman, whether you're a mom or not, when you're single, you know, everything is your responsibility. It's your life. You have to deal with your shit. When you're married or have a boyfriend, you can ferry off some of the stuff that you absolutely are repulsed by, whether it is dog puke or throw up or, you know, diarrhea or cat litter boxes or the car or the front lawn. If I did not have a husband, I would not live in a house. I would live in an apartment that had a doorman, no lawn. I want nothing to do with the outdoors. I want to just be self-contained. I'll go to a park if I need greenery, but the only reason that I live in a house with any kind of yard work is because there's a person here who wants to do it, because it is not me.
Well, and you have animals.
I don't even know if I'd have animals if I was single. I might have a cat. I'd probably have a cat. I mean, I like animals. But
I used to have this car that was a piece of shit and it would overheat all the time. So sometimes it would overheat to the point where I would literally have to pull over into like a gas station. I'd have to blast the heater before I got to the gas station to try and let out some of the hot air. And then once I got to the gas station, I'd open the hood. I would have to spray it down with water, the whole motor, until it got cool enough to where I can open the radiator cap, because you have to wait until it's cool. And then I could add the antifreeze and the water combination, screw it back on, and then get back on the road, and I'd be fine. And I'm just like, what happened to that person? Like,
where's that girl?
Well, first of all, I would never be driving a car like that ever again in my life. But
well, there's that.
But I was just like, I just did it all the time, like it was no big deal.
Right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to our ugly and awkward moments of the week.
So you know, Olivia and I share a room and a bathroom.
Yes.
Our bathroom's like a little water closet because it's the master bathroom. So when I go in there, if I even barely shut the door, or if I shut the door, I never lock it, because, I mean, no one goes in there. It's just me and Olivia, and she knows not to open the door. So I went to go to the bathroom the other day. I just had to go pee, and she was in there, and so I'm like, all right, fine. So I went to go use the boys' bathroom, which I definitely prefer not to use.
No,
because it just smells like pee and cologne, and I don't know.
I wish I had my own bathroom.
It's just,
Daryl's really clean, but that's not the point.
Oh God, Olivia's horribly messy. It's covered in paint and Q-tips. And today I found beans in my sink because she had a project due at school, and she was apparently doing it in the bathroom. I don't know why. So I was in the boys' bathroom, and I was sitting there going pee, but I had to go really bad, so it was kind of like a long pee. And then I had my cell phone on the counter next to me, and I looked down and I had a notification. So I picked it up and I was like looking at it, and all of a sudden the door swings open because I guess I forgot to lock it. And Victor looks at me. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I was just like, I'm like, "It's not what you think."
What?
Because I'm sitting on the toilet looking at my phone. And and I thought he was like, "Oh, he probably thinks I'm pooping," and I'm like, "It's not what you think."
Oh my God, that's so funny. We had just talked about that. That's so funny.
Because my pants, of course, are to my ankles, and so he can see like my half bare button thigh, and I'm staring at my phone, and I was just like, "I just got a notification. I'm peeing."
That's so funny.
So he shuts the door, and as soon as I get out, I'm like, I was not pooping. I had to pee really bad. I saw a notification. I picked up my phone. He's like, "Whatever you do in there is your business. Just lock the door next time." I'm like, "I did not poop." So I don't even know if he still believes me or not, but I know my truth.
I did not poo.
But if I had walked in on him, I know exactly what I would have thought. I'd been like, "Close, lock the door."
Yuck. Okay, here's mine. So I had one, and but then I had to change it because I had a better one yesterday.
We'll save that one then.
I will. When the well is dry, I will bring it up. Anyway, so I have been putting off. I go through these phases where I would rather just die than go out and do shopping.
Oh God.
Well, for like the things that we need, you know, like the Target or the grocery store runs, I get burned out because I feel like I go a lot because we have a big house and we have a lot of people living here. So after a while, I'm just like, I just don't want to do it. Something will then suddenly go, "Hey, we have no toilet paper. I think we might need to go to the store now." So I'm like, fine. So it was a Target run. Okay, so I'm getting all the things, and then I start doing, you start casually like just roaming around. So I'm in the cleaning section because I need stupid whatevers. And there's a woman, a tiny woman, walking, and this person didn't know which way to go because I was coming toward her. So because I'm awkward, I decide that I'm going to veer right a little bit because there's this big, support beam standing in between us.
Yeah.
From the ceiling to the floor, one of those things. So I go to maneuver around it. And so she sees me. So she slowly, of course, starts walking in front of my cart instead of going left, as she should have. So I stop. But what stops me is the end aisle of the metal end aisle where there's a shelf. And I hit it really hard with my basket because I didn't turn enough. And I punch myself in the gut with the basket. But here's where, that's bad enough. But I stand there and I was going to say, "Oh, I thought you were going the other way." So I was talking and I went, really loud. And And she starts laughing. And she's like 100.
Wait, what are you laughing at, you old bitch?
She's laughing, and I'm all, and I'm like, excuse me. And I keep walking. And I was laughing so hard at myself.
God.
It was the funniest thing. I'm like, I punched myself in the stomach so hard that I did that Japanese old movie sound. And I was like, what is that?
Did the sound come out before your lips started moving?
Yes. Yes, the subtitles. The subtitles could not catch up with my mouth.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! I laughed so hard. I'm like, okay. And then I literally messaged you in Target, going, I cannot wait to tell you about what just happened to me.
Oh, that's what. Okay, yeah, I saw that.
You're like, I can't wait. LOL.
How
but it was
funny.
The other one was hurtful and not sad, but it was painful. My first awkward moment, which I will share with you in a couple of weeks. But this one was like legit. I am so clumsy right now, and I keep telling myself over and over again that I'm not hormonal, and I'm wondering if maybe I'm getting ready to.
Well, you
hormonal.
better not be, because this Sunday is my last patch. So that means I will literally be my fattest when I go to Las Vegas.
Right.
And so I bought one of those things. Like, I had to tuck in all parts of my belly and body into this thing. And then after I got it all into the thing, then there's like a hook and eye part that you have to hook and eye together. I put it together, and I'm like, they don't even touch. So I'm just like, okay, I have to suck in as sucking in as I can be. So I'm just afraid that, like, when I sit down, it's just going to explode like a big pimple, and fat is just going to go everywhere.
You know what? I'm looking now because, okay, so here's the thing with me. Because I live with so many girls and I interact with so many females on a regular basis, my cycle is kind of messed up. Mm-hmm. And so I downloaded an app to keep track of my cycles because I couldn't keep track anymore. It was too hard.
Yeah.
So I've been using the app Clue, which I absolutely love. And this is not an endorsement, but it is not a paid endorsement, I should say. But Clue is one of my most favorite apps that I use to keep track of my cycles. So I literally, if I can remember, I will track PMS, headaches, breast tenderness, crying jags, sex, whatever. You can track all of it. And so I'm just looking at it right now. My PMS should kick in next week. So I'm just being stupid. It is nothing.
Yeah, because last time I started my period, I actually started my period at your house. It was a Saturday.
Yes. It was
night,
the 14th.
And which was weird because I still had my patch on. And I'm just like, whoa. I'm like, I don't take my patch off until tomorrow. So I shouldn't be starting until Monday or Tuesday. So I'm like, what
but I had started my period that day.
We literally just both started our periods that night.
Yes.
And so I'm just like, what the heck? So if I start my period in Vegas, I'm going to be pissed.
The hormones are strong in this house.
Hopefully Stephanie will, maybe the connection will be enough. Hopefully she won't be on her period or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But so you're good so far.
Usually my fear of flying scares my period away. I don't know why.
Yeah. God, I remember one time Mom started her period. Our car broke down. We were on our way to San Francisco, and our car broke down, and she started her period in the car.
I thought, isn't that the same time Allison got a nosebleed, and she had a maxi pad on her nose?
Yes. You know, does it at all surprise anybody that we are the way we are and that we have the timing we have?
Well, isn't that the time that Dad bought everyone plane tickets to Sacramento because he just was like done with it, or Mom?
He's like, just fucking fly home.
Mom had it. She's like, I am done with this. Get us back home. And so he's just like,
fine.
He's like, everyone has plane tickets back to Sacramento.
Just go to SFO and fly your ass back.
I'll take care of the car.
You know what? That is something I would have done.
Well,
if I had called Darren, I'm like, I swear to God, right now, you must airlift me out of this place now. He's like, done and done. I'm not dealing with this.
I know. Well, I mean, it makes sense the way Mom. I wonder if Mom could have been kind of demanding that way with Dad. I mean, she probably had the room, or not the room, but the ammo to do such.
Well, I mean, I do know, based on what I have witnessed in our lives, our mom was the only one that could get away with it.
Yeah,
no one else could.
That's true.
She was literally the only one that got away with that kind of stuff.
So I remember telling one of Victor's girlfriends the same thing. I'm like, I know you think that you're all in with him and my kids and everything. I said, but know this, you will never be the woman in his life, ever. I said, it will always be me. I said, so have your fun, do what you got to do. I said, but when I say, you're gone. So just know that.
You think it'll always be that way, though?
I do.
Well, yeah, I thought you didn't want that. You told me you didn't want that.
I'm not saying because I want it. I just think that's how it'll be.
Well, anything's possible.
It's not.
It does happen. That does happen, though.
Because Victor says he doesn't want to get married again. He doesn't see himself, getting serious with anyone ever again. And I really believe him, to be honest.
We'll see. We'll see. They all say that. It never happens. Daryl's dad said, if I ever say I want to get married again, shoot me in the head.
Yeah, but that's because he's been married like 15,000 times,
Well, regardless of the amount of times, that's not the point. The point was he's like, I will never marry again. Okay, so I met this woman. She's amazing. And we're getting married.
Her name's Karen.
Who actually is very nice.
No, actually, I'm really happy for them.
Yeah,
it's been going great.
Yes, we're very happy.
So,
all right. Well, I have nothing more to add.
No, I think that's a wrap for this week. One thing we want to talk about is it's getting close to the holidays. Something you might think about is signing up for Amazon Prime. Just go to uglytruth.com, click on the Amazon page. It gets you free shipping, either 2 days. Some of them are 1 day. Some are even, I think, same day.
Same day.
It also gets you Amazon Prime Video, which we have been using a lot. Go check that out. You might want to sign up. And like I said, do it through our page. And then also visit lipandclip.com. Check out what they have for skincare. The air is getting a little drier, so you might want to think about getting into a skincare routine. Other than that, have a fabulous rest of your weekend, and we will see you next week. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening and sharing the show. See you next time on The Ugly Truth.